Okay, so we have now got our 6 pieces of our roller coaster ready to go, and we are now going to start assembling it to look like this. Okay, so for the first step, you're going to need both of your structural supports and one of your hill pieces. All right, so what we're trying to do in this first step is we're going to make our supports vertical, and we are going to attach our hill piece to the top of the supports. Okay, so what I want you to do is you're going to take a piece of tape and you're going to attach the hill piece to the second segment of the hill piece onto the very top of the structural support, okay, using a piece of tape. I think it's a little bit easier if you put the piece of tape first, attach it to the hill piece, and then attach that to the top of the structural support, okay, like this. Should look like this. Make sure you look at the up close pictures if you want some validation that you're on the right track with it, okay? I'm then going to take another piece of tape and I'm going to put it on this side of it to kind of hold it securely in place, right? My hill is now attached, I've got a little extra tape going on, to one side of the support, but that's not going to do us any good unless it's attached to this side. So now you're going to repeat that process on the other side of the roller coaster. Okay, so put the piece of tape on the hill piece and then wrap that onto the top of your support like this. And then you're going to kind of need to put another piece down so that the structural support piece doesn't wiggle back and forth. Okay, this is probably one of the most complicated parts, is getting this first part attached because nothing is stable yet. Okay, so right now I have my hill attached to both structural supports. Okay, the next thing you want to do is to attach your structural supports onto your piece of cardboard or your table or your board or whatever you're using. Okay, so you want to line up your supports. They should be about 1 inch apart. You want to splay out those bottom pieces so they're fanned out wide. This helps give them extra stability on the bottom. And then tape them to the cardboard piece. They need to be on here securely because this is what is going to hold the entire roller coaster up. Okay. Once again, if you are doing it directly to your kitchen countertop, please use painter's tape for that so that it doesn't leave a mark or you're not able to get it up afterward. Okay, so go ahead, and I would recommend putting it on all 8 of those pieces. You don't need a huge piece of tape, just a small amount, but taping down all 8 of those little legs to make it nice and secure on there. Okay, this is what you should have right now. Okay, you should have 2 supports holding up your hill, which should not reach the surface. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This is why we needed to create a second piece so that we can make sure that it reaches all the way down to the ground like this. Okay, so if you are still working on this step, go ahead and pause the video. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next step. Okay, the next step is then for us to get our hill to reach all the way down to the bottom. So what I want you to do is I want you to kind of nest that second piece of your hill track inside the other one. Okay, what you don't want is to do this so that you're pulling your supports out of the vertical position. They need to stay vertical. So you don't want to put a lot of tension on this piece. Okay, so you'll go ahead and you'll kind of, you can overlap it just at 1, or you can overlap 2 segments if you want to make it a little more stable. Go ahead and tape it along the bottom or along the sides of those 2 pieces so that you connect the 2 hill pieces together, overlapping either 1 segment or 2 segments, but you don't need to overlap any more than that. Okay, I did 2. All right. Now our hill looks pretty good. It is a little bit long, but it is not too bad. All right, so we're going to go ahead and leave it there for now. One thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to reinforce our sides. So we're going to kind of decide how long you want your hill to be. I think if you just sort of let it rest on the ground, this is a good angle for it, right? You don't want to pull it anymore, and you don't need to push it back. Just let it flop down and rest on the paper, and that's a pretty nice and comfortable angle for it. Then you want to take a piece of tape and make it into a loop, right? A looped piece of tape. And you're going to take it where it hits the surface of the cardboard or your table. You're going to put that piece of tape on the back, and you're going to let it sit there. Okay, that's going to just sort of hold it in place so it doesn't go flopping all over the place while you're trying to run the track. All right, at this step now we want to secure the sides of this, because if we don't secure it because we've opened them all up to allow it to bend, if you put your marble in it, it's just going to fly out the side, and we don't want that to happen. So taking some tape, masking tape or scotch tape, along the sides, I want you to go ahead and sort of reinforce that together where they're kind of splaying apart, okay? Because in these places, it's more likely to push to the side and allow the marble to escape over the side of the track. And we definitely don't want that to happen. It's gonna be most critical up here at the top where the pieces are further apart from one another. So just go ahead and take a little bit of tape and kind of secure that together, okay? I'm not doing mine in a very neat job, but that's okay, right? So just go ahead and work your way down. Add a little tiny bit of tape to those juncture points to kind of keep them strong. I'm gonna emphasize using just little tiny pieces of tape. Little tiny pieces of tape. The bigger the piece are, the less they're going to fit, and it's gonna kind of buckle up. So smaller pieces are definitely better. Okay, so go ahead and secure your track down along the side. You can always bolster this later when you do your first test round. If you find that your marble keeps running off one side of the track or exiting it, then you know you need to bolster that part of it, okay? Support it a little bit more, okay? So I will go ahead and I'll just do it to this point. Some of your pieces, especially as you get to this part of the track where it's starting to bend back in, it's okay that they're kind of overlapping each other. That's what you want. So go ahead and tape it if they're overlapping a little. That's good. That's just because it's bending at the right spot. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go with this for now. All right, so here we are. We now have our hill fully constructed. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add this loop-de-loop part right here. Mine is the green, is my green track. Yours might be a different color. What we're going to do is I want you to gently fold it into a loop-de-loop where one side of the track is going to be sitting next to the other side. I have a good up-close picture of this on the website. If you look on the back, what you want to do is you want to create it so the two ends kind of sit next to each other in a circle formation, okay? This is the structure we're going to be creating. So my recommendation now is this is when we want to trim off the bottom of our hill. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to suggest that you trim off, depending on yours, it's probably going to be 3 to 5 segments, depending on how much you overlapped and where yours is hitting the bottom. I just cut off 3. I think when I did this one, I cut off 5, so it's going to vary. And now we want to attach this track to the hill track by overlapping one segment. Okay, by segment, I mean one piece like this, okay? So go ahead and lay the green track on top of the blue track. Now this is going to be very important. When you tape it in, you want to make sure that the bottom of the track is the bottom of the green or the looping track is completely flush with the bottom of the hill track, meaning smooth, okay? If it is not smooth, it's going to create friction on your track, okay? And friction will slow the marble down and may prevent it from making it all the way through the roller coaster. So you want to make sure you put a piece of tape over that surface when you're doing the attachment and then really push it on so that the two surfaces are flat and flush with one another, okay? And then you want to go ahead, once again, using tiny pieces of tape, here, go ahead and make the tracks secure right here. So kind of bolster up the track so that it's not flopping over, okay? This is where we're going to make the looping structure, okay? So this can be a little complicated too. Gently fold it, kind of intersperse those sides, kind of lay flat. They're almost like scales. You could think of them like that, where they kind of hold each other down and turn it into a loop. It doesn't really matter which things go in or out of the other one, but you want them to kind of lie over the top of each other as they wrap around in a loop, okay? So once you have this loop on here, take a piece of tape, and this bottom segment, the last segment of your loop, should touch the bottom of your cardboard or table. Take a piece of tape and secure it down there like that, and you have a loop. Now, we don't want to leave our loop like this because you can see all the little pieces are flying up. Your marble is going to fly off of it. So using small pieces of tape again, I want you to go ahead and kind of secure them to one another, okay? Secure them and wrap them around the edge so that they don't flop around anymore, so they're firm. Okay. This could take a little bit of time to get it just right, but that's okay. Now you can always make adjustments, just like with the hill. So I see right now that my hill is going to be opening right here, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of tape right here. You could always make adjustments after you run the track a couple of times. I know with my 8-year-old made this with me, and his track, he realized once he got going, his marble kept falling off at the same spot, and he fixed that after he had the entire thing together, okay? You want to go ahead on the other side as well, do the same thing, kind of keep those scale-like pieces from flopping apart, flopping open, okay, by kind of just sealing them up next to each other. Okay. Just like that. Don't want it tipping to the side. So what you're trying to do is also create a track that does not have a lot of places where it's going to get hitched up on, like caught up in, because anytime it gets caught up in a portion of the track, you're creating friction for your marble. So you want to minimize all the places that your marble could potentially, you know, not flow smoothly through the track. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's entirely clear of any kind of stuff that could, you know, impede its traffic. Okay. If you want, you can add additional pieces to adhere it to the bottom by making a couple more tape loops, if you feel like that would be beneficial, okay? So once you have it where you feel like it looks pretty, I'm gonna make another loop to hold down this portion of my loop. I feel like maybe that would keep it smoother, okay? That looks pretty good like that. I'm going to give it a go and see how it runs through my track before I add any more tape to it. One piece of tape inside my loop. Let's see, there's a piece that's kind of poking out. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Okay, good. All right, so this is where we are right now. We have our supports, our hill, and our loop. Okay, I'm going to end the video here.